It's not politically correct anymore to be a true patriot either. Even that's been stigmatized.
Isn't that wild?
Oh, yeah. I mean, liberty is not wearing a mask. Really? Is that as good as we get? But even being patriotic is now questionable. The percentage of Americans who have pride in being an American is at a record low, going all the way back to Gallup polling.
Yeah,
it's so sad.
It's like looked down upon. It's
right.
It's crazy, and you're labeled immediately. If you drive around with an American flag on your car, you're labeled immediately. You're alt-right, or you're a nationalist, or it's just, I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. I understand
think part of it is the far, 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 far right. The video that we all saw from Minneapolis of the white guy dressed up as Antifa breaking the AutoNation's windows and then wandering away. I think that the far, 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 far right, that is, I don't know, it's kind of like what the Nazi Party was in Germany all those years ago. They've somehow given patriotism a bad name.
Yeah.
And what a shame.
Isn't it?
God, yes.
Because you can't just be a person that's a middle-class person that gets up and goes to work and is respectful to people and is a member of your community and is a family person and love your country. I don't know, for some reason that's just, it's frowned upon now, and that sucks. It's sad. I understand that there are a ton of atrocities that have occurred in the history of our country as well, just as there are atrocities that have just occurred over the course of history globally. And I don't think that by showing appreciation for your country, I don't think you are discounting those things, but I think that that's how it's viewed as now. I feel like, if you consider yourself a patriot now, or you want to openly show your appreciation for the country, that has now become tied to the idea that you're not smart enough, or you don't care enough,
or you're weak-minded,
or you're weak-minded, right? Exactly. Which is like, it's almost like the gate can swing so far in the other direction, because I went through that phase in my life in my 20s, my early 20s, where I really denounced a lot of these things, and I hated people that were like uber patriots, and I thought it was so stupid, and like I would kind of obsess over all of the bad things that have taken place and push for, Peter Schiff always uses this quote that if you make it to your 20s and you're not a socialist yet, you don't have a heart, but if you make it to your 30s and you're not a conservative, you don't have a brain. I've gone through that phase, and I still recognize those things, and people can still be cognizant of those atrocities and cognizant of the history of our country and respectful to other people of all, races, colors, creed, sexuality, religion, whatever, and respect everybody and still love your country, and we've kind of gotten away from that.
Oh, I'll go down in flames first. My oldest and my middle on August the 14th and August the 16th, they'll be checking in to Culver Military Academy. It's in Indiana. It is the most patriotic educational institute that I can possibly name, and I'm proud to send my two oldest there. Hopefully my two youngest, my twins, get in as well. And it's one of the last places that is an educational environment that demands and commands that you respect and uphold the flag. And if I could send every kid in America to Culver, I would, just because you don't unify a country by trying to tear it apart at the seams. It doesn't work.
Right.
And we eventually end up being taken over by the Chinese. It's just going to happen if we continue down this path.
And the problem is that we don't ever broaden our perspective to understand that all of the things that we have today that make life in this country wonderful somebody was telling me a story yesterday about a person that adopted a child who was from, I think, Kenya. And when they brought the child to the U.S. and they brought him to a Target, the kid saw the wall of shoes at a Target and started crying because there was such an abundance of choices. And when you grow up in this country, you don't really understand that because it's all you've ever known. And so I think for a lot of people, it's very easy to look at all of the terrible parts of the country's history and all of the injustices that continue to occur, regardless of whether or not we are making progress in addressing them, and kind of point those out and be like, here's the problem, here's the problem, here's the problem, and use that to kind of shoehorn the idea of socialism in, or Marxism in, because ideologically it sounds like it would be the path to utopia, but at the same time, the same people and the environment that they operate in and the comforts and the social mores they become accustomed to and all of the things that they take for granted on a daily basis are all there because of what's happened in our history and because of, capitalism and because of the way the last, couple hundreds of years have unfolded. And you have to strike, I think, a delicate balance between becoming acutely aware of that and understanding how good you really have it and why things are that good to begin with also being pragmatic and wanting to continue to evolve and make constructive changes.
Look, absolutely. I mean, I think that, and again, I'll infuriate people by making this statement, but my mother was raised with her grandparents from the UK who had survived the Great Depression, and so they were economically scarred by having to go without, and raised their children and grandchildren, where they were actually physically in the house in South Texas, to be very cognizant of what they had, and to be frugal, and to be thankful, and to be grateful.
Right.
And COVID has done that. COVID is awful. COVID has killed people I know, and it's a scourge. At the same time, it's no longer theoretical that you need to have money saved for a rainy day. I think Americans are going to go back to being a little bit more American after this and save a little bit more, which, by the way, violates Fed policy. But there are lessons that have been learned about saving and the virtues of it and having money set aside. So the whole idea of just in case is no longer in theory, it's in practice.